If you collect 100 black ants and 100 fire ants and put them in a jar, nothing will happen. But if you take the jar, shake it violently, and leave it on a table, the ants will start killing each other. Red believes the black is the enemy, while black believes the red is the enemy, when the real enemy is the person who shook the jar. Before we fight each other, we must ask ourselves, who shook the jar?
Before I put on my jacket to go real business about this presentation, I too want to ask, who shook the jar? Hello, everybody. This is Fred Nwankwo coming to you again from our studios in Chicago. And today, I just wanted to say that this is what's trending, but not trending on the Arise TV show that I watch so religiously. And this is not trending with Obidients, one of the journalists that I like very much on Arise TV. Her team, Dr. Abati, Mr. Rufai Oseni and Tundu Abiola are just seasoned journalists, and I love to watch them, and they bring so much to Nigeria's news table. However, every once in a while, we all tend to get carried away, and we may say things in a way we do not quite understand that the sensitivity that it brings to our viewers, our respected viewers, I must say. In this case, I wanted to bring us to the attention of Dr. Ruben Abati's position on the Peter Obi fans and how he describes them as getting a little out of hand, and how Peter Obi needs to caution his fans and make them watch how they abuse people, because if not, he may have to go fan to fan apologizing to people who are offended by Peter Obi's fans. First of all, I must say that I am also against people abusing other fans who have other candidates in this race. We have a democracy in Nigeria, and everybody has a right to support who they want to. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think we're taking it a little too far when a seasoned, respected, highly qualified journalist in Nigeria, like Dr. Ruben Abati, comes out to pick on one set of fans as if he's overlooking similar issues that come from the other fans from the other candidates. None of them is right. I'm not condoning any of it. And I think I'm on record. And if you go to my YouTube channel, African Viewpoints on YouTube, you're going to find the last video, or the one before that, where I came out vehemently to challenge Obi supporters and tell them that Femi Kuti has the right to say whatever he said. Even if he said Peter Obi was an idiot, he has the right to say that. I want you to listen to what Ruben Abati said regarding Peter Obi fans and how they reacted to Femi Kuti, and then listen to what he said about the editor-in-chief, I think he is, of the Nation newspaper, Sam Omatseye, and his obituary article that he wrote trying to belittle Peter Obi, regardless of all the negative things and falsehoods that Omatseye had in his column. We must bear in mind here that Peter Obi fans are just arbitrary fans. Sam Omatseye holds a revered position as the editor-in-chief or somebody very high on the editorial board of a respected Nigerian newspaper. The way we judge him should be at a higher level than the way we judge arbitrary fans that can come from anywhere. It seems, in my opinion, that Dr. Abati's position on these two subjects seems to be twisted upside down. Just take a listen, and I'll come back and give a little more commentary on that.
I woke up today to insults, abusing me, my family, my children, threatening me that they will burn the shrine because I said Peter Obi's supporters are zombies. First, let's be clear. What did I say? I said I'm too angry, I'm too sad, depressed to be obedient. I said, how can anybody come up with that term? How can you be obedient? How? I don't see. Me, I can't be obedient in this country. NSAS, killings, my grandmother was killed, my father's house burnt, the oppression of my family, and I'm supposed to be obedient.
Dr. Abati, I thought this was such a warm visit.
Yes, well, let me put it like this. Mr. Peter Obi, presidential candidate of the Labour Party, has proven again that he's a very decent, cultured, civilized man who is committed to the politics of ideas.
Yes.
And that's the point he was making in that video, that his campaign will be issue-based.
Right.
And consistently, through his various appearances, he has tried to focus on issues. But he has to worry about this movement that is supporting him. Yes, I was talking about color, momentum, and all of that yesterday. I mean, every politician likes to be loved. Every politician wants to be popular. Every politician wants other people to sell into his ideas, to buy into his ideas. But the major problem that the candidate of the Labour Party has is that he has to work harder to make sure that his campaign is not hijacked by persons who do not share the same values with him, some of them already operating as psychotics on the lunatic fringe, because they go about threatening people, either on social media or physically. Now, Femi Kuti's concern is that people are threatening to attack him. There's also a video that is out there, of a guy playing with a gun saying anybody that opposes Peter Obi, that he will gun the people down. Now, that's not the kind of rhetoric that comes from the candidate himself. The Tinubu campaign even had to write a letter advising him to call his supporters to order. And then even at one point, he himself put out a statement saying that, look, he's not he's not encouraging anybody to attack anybody. People should focus on ideas. So it's important that he has reiterated this. But how many people would Peter Obi visit to clarify? If it is on the basis of the kind of lunacy, that has become a subtext to some of the statements that some of those supporters make, he will have to end up visiting everybody. So he has to do a lot more to keep preaching the politics of ideas,
right,
of decency, of issues, because that's what we are interested in. Supporters of politicians are saying that they will kill people, they will burn down houses. No. In fact, that in itself will amount to a felony, because the laws of the land do not say you have to force other people to share your views. Let us have a plurality of ideas and let people vote according to their own choice. Let nobody threaten violence.
Now, you've heard what Dr. Abati said in his comments on the Ojini Kokwe show on Arise TV. And I respect what he said. I respect Dr. Abati. I get criticisms about my own show. I hope he honors my critique of what he did just in that particular commentary. It's not a broad brush about his journalism. Dr. Abati is, in my opinion, one of the most highly regarded journalists in Nigeria. I salute his colleagues, Mr. Rufai Oseni and Miss Tundu Abiola, they gave a more balanced view of that whole thing. They criticized supporters of different candidates all across and cautioning them to let this campaign be focused on issues. But they also came back to address the flaws of Mr. Sam Omatsaye's editorial commentary on Nation newspaper. I am sure that given an opportunity to listen to himself and think over it, the Dr. Abati that I know, the seasoned journalist that I know in Dr. Abati, will pick his words more carefully to make it balanced. We can't, as people with the most vocal voices in Nigeria, because you have a bullhorn that goes beyond all our bullhorns put together. You have to be balanced in your criticism and not make it seem that the Obi supporters are doing anything that is ultra different from what the other fans are doing. Let me take you back in memory, and I may be wrong. You may have intervened with the right words at the time, but at the time I didn't have my Bold TV and I couldn't have commented on it. But in 2015, it was 2015. It was the Oba of Lagos, who evidently is an APC supporter, that came out with his bullhorn to threaten that anybody who voted against APC will be thrown into the lagoon. We knew who he was referring to. But unfortunately, if he had actualized his threat, there would have been some unintended passerbys, because there are people who would have been assumed to belong to the group he was referring to, he was going to throw into the lagoon. For a man with that much authority, the highest traditional authority in our nation's most populous city, to come out and say something like that is disgraceful, more disgraceful than what arbitrary Peter Obi supporters are saying. We're also very aware of the people who run Lagos State and their silence when the thugs that they put in the streets of Lagos go out burning polling stations, beating up intended voters, and preventing voters from voting in the 2015 that led to the victory, and I must say narrow victory, of APC in Lagos in 2015 and 2019. If the elections in Lagos had been fair, God knows that with all the money that was thrown in from bullion trucks into those elections, that somebody would have been embarrassed in his backyard. But I just thought I'd bring that up to Dr. Abati. Just like he wants Peter Obi to apologize for what his fans are doing, I think it's right and fair for me to tell him to come back on TV and apologize to Peter Obi fans and the Obidients fans who are not from Peter Obi's tribe. Peter Obi's fans come from all across Nigeria, especially 60 to 80% of the Nigerian youth today are supporting that movement. And it's an insult to them for Dr. Abati to refer to them the way he did in that video. And I'll end on that. Now I'll go to my next topic, which is what we're calling for in this election, which is an issues-oriented election. I'll introduce the running mate of Peter Obi, just for you to listen to him and how he articulates the elementary issues, not even the big picture yet, the elementary things that can turn our country around, create employment for the many unemployed, cut down insecurity, and put our country incrementally with little steps in the right direction, heading towards fixing the bigger problems. Just give this a listen.
And like I keep saying, my ground zero is the police constable. A police constable who is a family of two, himself and the wife, what can 100,000 naira do for him? It can pay a mortgage. Sir, you people will get busy. The children can go to school. That money is going into the private sector. You're talking of hundreds of thousands, millions of people like him, who 100,000 is coming clean, and they're not keeping it for themselves. It's going into the economy. Right now, you don't want to see how police constables are living. Dormitories is a glorification of the conditions in which they live. And what did I say? Nothing happens so quickly, so drastic overnight. And that is how you know leaders that mean business and leaders that don't mean business. I'm trying to give some humanity back to your security operatives, from the police constable to the army private, to the customs officer, to the immigration officer, to the public servant who is carrying files from desk to desk, teacher in front of pupils, teacher, lecturer in front of students, nurse who welcomes patients into hospitals, so on and so forth. Give some humanity back to them. Redirect their loyalty to their nation and to their profession. In that way, the police constable will not collect bribe 15 naira on the streets. Use heavily used technology, where we have to move away from this barbaric situation where you see an officer, not even rank and file of the police, standing in front of a car blocking the car. We have to move, give some humanity back to people.
Folks, you've heard what Baba Ahmed said. It's very elementary. One line we all need to take away from there is where he said, my ground zero is the police constable. I wonder how many of us have really driven by, let alone step into the compounds of police barracks in Nigeria. And every time I hear people complaining that the police takes bribe, I wonder if something is wrong with our heads. In a country where the elite are stealing our money in the billions of dollars, not millions, and the police are living in the worst filth you can find in any ghetto in the world. And these are people who carry guns to protect you. If you give unemployed youth guns, they become armed robbers. If you give lowly, disrespected, unappreciated police officers, police constables, guns, the conscientious ones amongst them have no choice but to take bribe Is it right? No, it's not. But is it right for a leadership to leave its police officers in the condition Nigerian leader after leader after leader has allowed our police living conditions to deteriorate to, including the money you pay them? We have to look at things holistically. And another thing that we need to address, and the press needs to address, because I hear the press talking about Peter Obi in a very highly respectable way. But when they talk about the Peter Obi supporters, they make it seem like it's the youth, if they are being liberal, but usually they make it seem like it's an irrelevant group. Mentally, they think an irrelevant group from you know where. It's important to know that the Obi movement is not a Southeastern movement. Peter Obi has never presented himself as a Southeastern candidate. Peter Obi's choice of vice president within civilian administrations, besides Alex Ekwueme, this is the best qualified vice president. I take that back. Our current vice president, Yemi Osinbajo, is also a great, impeccable person as vice president. Unfortunately, he wasn't allowed to work. His hands were tied. This is, even including Alex Ekwueme, I believe that Baba Ahmed stands to be the first real executive vice president of the Republic of Nigeria. You're looking at two candidates, presidential and vice presidential, that are coming into office on day one, not only qualified to bring the best to Nigeria, but qualified to be allowed to do their work without interference and chauvinistic control from the top. Their support is not coming from the Southeast. Their support is coming from youth across Nigeria. Now, you could call those the social media crowd, but I'm going to show you a video, very short 30-second video, of a crowd that is not a social media crowd, that is an angry crowd that has rejected APC. And this is only the beginning of things to come. The campaign hasn't started. Go write it down. You're going to see a slew of conscientious APC members and conscientious PDP members leaving their parties to join the Labour Party because they believe in what Peter Obi and Baba Ahmed are saying. Just watch this short video and I'll continue. Now, let me conclude on this note, and in the process, make this the shortest video that I've recorded so far on politics. Unfortunately, I'm continuing again on something Dr. Abati said about the Obi campaign, because it seems to be a recurrent thing. He finds a way to compliment Obi, just to be politically correct, and on the same vein, find a way to diminish what they're doing. In one of the presentations on Arise TV last week, again, I think it was on Ojinik Okbe's show, Dr. Abati compared the Obi movement in Nigeria to the campaign in Kenya of, I think he's a college professor, very popular in that election, Professor Luchiri Wajakoya. And I don't have enough time to do it, but I would have liked to show you side by side Luchiri Wajakoya and the personality he exhumed side by side with Peter Obi. And to compare the two is an insult. It's an insult to Peter Obi and the hard work he's putting into this and the morality and ethics he brings to electioneering in Nigeria. But it's even a bigger insult to Nigeria's youth. 70% of them who are with Peter Obi, who are the ones who are driving this social movement thing. But their social movement drive doesn't end on social media. They are registering for PVCs if INEC would allow a fair election. They are ready to vote. They are tired of being suppressed. They are ready to take over the leadership of the country. Luchiri Wajakoya in Kenya was promising part of what made him very popular on social media, and where wouldn't he be if he promised that, was that he was going to legalize marijuana. Honestly, I have nothing against marijuana. I don't smoke it. But with all the research that has gone on and the medicinal effects, I don't think smoking marijuana in moderation is something anybody will knock if it's medicinal, but that's by the way. My point is that Obi's movement doesn't only have anything to do with that kind of rhetoric, but the caliber of the youth that are supporting Peter Obi, for the most part, are highly responsible youth that are not into any kind of drugs. And a good percentage of them may not even drink beer. And for you to compare the interest that Peter Obi's movement has gathered on social media to Luchiri Wajakoya's influence in Kenya is an absolute, it's absolutely uncalled for. But it just shows that you're looking for minor ways to diminish something that is so big and bigger than anything you and I have ever seen in Nigeria. But who knows? February 23 would let us know. Yes, I'm very concerned about whether INEC will allow for a free election to be conducted. We never know. We really never know based on past experience. The answer to that question, we have to find out. Give a listen to this, and I'll conclude after that.
How many years can some people exist before they're allowed to be free? How many times can a man turn his head and pretend that he just doesn't see? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. How many times must a man look up before he can see the sky? must one man have before he can hear people cry? How many deaths will it take till he knows that too many people have died? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind.
Like the music just said, we have to wait and see. The answer, my friends, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. The chairman of INEC has a very big challenge in his hands, an opportunity to become the hero of conducting the elections that turned Nigeria around and moved us in the right direction. But he also has a chance to go down the same path that previous INEC chairmen have gone down, taking bribes and thwarting results and giving us another 4 years of corruption, unemployment. We'll see. But until next time, this is Fred Nwankwo again, coming to you from our studios in Chicago. Thank you very much, and I appreciate every one of you that is watching. But what good is watching if you're not sharing? Come on. Click the share button. Send it to more people. I think what I'm saying is good stuff, and it needs to be seen by more people. Good night, and God bless you.